Every movie has to undergo an editing process to refine it down to something that tells a story. Mad Max Fury Road director George Miller famously shot 480 hours of footage that his wife edited down to a 2-hour film. Not every movie has to cut so much, of course, and some edits are done to appease censors and studios rather than just tighten up a story. That said, every so often a scene has to be removed from a film for a truly perplexing reason, and it can either be to the betterment or the detriment of the final product. Number 10. Tank Girl deleted a Kangaroo mutant sex scene. You might not remember the 1994 sci-fi action comedy Tank Girl, based on a comic book of the same name starring Laurie Petty in the title role and Ice-T as a kangaroo man, but it was a weird one. The comic was a true underground, punk-inspired trip of a story, but the adaptation did not achieve the same aesthetic at all. The vagaries of Hollywood productions got in the way and made something still weird but less appealing to the fan base and non-fans alike. It has a cult following these days, but as is often the case, that's code for the fact that not many people like it. One of the big hurdles for the movie is the fact that, in the source material, Tank Girl has a sexual relationship with Ice-T's character, and including human and not quite human sex is always risky in a film. The director wanted to go all in on the comic's absurd and overt sexuality, but the film balked and edited the movie behind her back. That means a kangaroo man sex scene was dropped, despite the fact that the production spent a few $1,000s to make a prosthetic kangaroo penis for the scene. Arguably, if anyone had read the comics, they would have known all of this stuff would be in the movie. And they probably read the script too. Maybe just seeing it in the footage proved to be too much. Number 9. Disney removed a scene from the program after someone died. Sports movies are usually a niche thing, but every year one or two come out that seem to do well. In 1993, Disney was the parent company behind the college football movie The Program. Critics didn't like it, but audiences seemed to appreciate it more. But storyline aside, the movie is mostly famous these days for one specific scene. The movie, starring James Caan and Halle Berry, was a dramatic and grim look at college football. The famous scene involved one of the players laying down on a busy highway, reading a magazine right on the center line as cars sped by him. That sounds stupid, maybe, but innocuous enough for a movie, right? Well, the problem was that kids started doing it in real life. 2 teenage boys were badly injured, and one ended up dying as a result of trying to recreate the scene. Disney responded by immediately editing the scene from the film while it was still in theaters, about a month after it premiered. Later, releases of the film on DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming are all devoid of the scene as well, which has been all but stricken from existence. Number 8. The Big Bang Theory pilot dropped a scene for syndication. Heading to the small screen, The Big Bang Theory was one of the most popular sitcoms of the 2000s, and the awkward, ultra-nerd characters really struck a chord with some audiences, such that it lasted an impressive 12 seasons. Despite the success, there was one scene that was dropped from the show's pilot episode on subsequent airings of the show, despite it being available for audiences to view for a short time. The show's creator, Chuck Lorre, axed a scene from that first episode, in which the characters of Sheldon and Leonard find themselves at a sperm bank. You can still find the scene online, and there's nothing intrinsically unusual about it compared to the rest of the series, at least not on the surface. But if you're a fan of the show and hadn't seen that scene before, it would definitely strike you as out of character for Sheldon to be in a sperm bank. The character that the show turns him into would never have gone to such a place at all, so it made sense to remove the scene after the fact. Number 7. Ed O'Neill was edited from a movie because audiences laughed at him. Ed O'Neill rose to fame as Al Bundy on Married with Children, a role that clearly defined him for a good part of his career. It wasn't until Modern Family, a full 12 years later, that he found another major role in film or TV. That wasn't for lack of trying either. Al Bundy really ruined his shot at being taken seriously as an actor, a fact that was best displayed on the cutting room floor of the movie Flight of the Intruder. Flight of the Intruder was a 1991 action film made at what was arguably the height of O'Neill's fame as Al Bundy. His role in the movie wasn't even a big one, just a quick scene he wasn't even being credited with. But audiences in test screenings laughed when he showed up on scene because to them Al Bundy had just appeared out of nowhere. It was such a problem that the scene had to be deleted and then reshot with a different actor. Number 6. Fox cut scenes from The Predator that featured a sex offender. Shane Black is not the most prolific filmmaker, but he does make a splash with his movies. Black's first film as director was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and he went on to direct Iron Man 3 and The Predator, while also writing some beloved classics like The Monster Squad and Lethal Weapon. Black's work on The Predator was not particularly well received critically, but the movie did receive press for reasons that no one, especially Fox, the studio behind the film, wanted. Black cast an actor in the movie named Stephen Wilder Strigel. Previously, Strigel had been in Black's Iron Man 3 and The Nice Guys. He never played a major role in the film and was cast because he and Black were buddies in real life. He was also a sex offender. In the movie, he had a very short scene where he tried to hit on Olivia Munn's character. It lasted just a minute or two. It was Munn herself who discovered the actor's history and then told the studio. Strigel, as it turned out, had pled guilty to trying to lure a 14-year-old girl on the internet. Black was aware of Strigel's past, as he had been when he cast him in those other films, and claimed he was just trying to help out a friend. Fox, for their part, cut ties with Strigel immediately and deleted his scene. Number 5. Deleted frames make the Raiders of the Lost Ark villain look like he eats a bug. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark is a hugely popular film that's still a standout classic even today. One of the more infamous scenes in the film features the villainous Belloc, played by Paul Freeman, talking to Harrison Ford's Jones. In the scene, a fly lands on Belloc's lip and then seems to crawl into his mouth. You don't see it fly out again, and it seems like the character, or rather the actor, actually ate the bug. In reality, a fly did land on Freeman's face, and director Steven Spielberg looked at it as an opportunity. A couple of frames of footage were deleted from the final scene, just enough to hide the fact that the fly flew away, and instead, it makes it look like he eats it. The sound team for the movie even included a more noticeable buzzing in the scene as well to really hammer the effect home as something of a joke on the unseemly character. Number 4. Several minutes were cut from Rain Man when it was shown on airplanes. In the movie Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman's autistic character shares a wealth of random knowledge with his brother in various scenes, but one of the more memorable ones includes the two of them at an airport, with Hoffman rattling off statistics about airplane crashes as his brother tries to get him on a plane. The movie would go on to be very popular, one of Tom Cruise's biggest hits of the 80s, and as was common for any popular movie of the time, it was commonly shown in in-flight entertainment on planes. But no one wants to be on a plane listening to someone explain how often plane crashes kill people, so 15 airlines ended up editing the movie to remove the scene so no one on board would get stressed out as they watched it. Not showing them in the airport does alter the narrative to a fairly significant degree, since it explains why the characters had to drive and not fly, and the director wasn't happy about it. A lot of context is lost, and later scenes make no sense, but apparently airlines were more worried about keeping passengers docile than fully engaged in the plot. Number 3. Dr. Strangelove was supposed to end with a pie fight. Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove is considered one of the greatest satirical films ever, and is a classic of the black comedy genre. So it's weird to imagine that there was another ending that went completely slapstick and included a pie fight. Kubrick shot the ending scene in which everyone on set ended up covered in custard. He even had a photographer on set taking pictures, which can be found online. But the director ended up not liking the scene, feeling it was out of place in the greater picture. It was aired for test audiences right around the time of JFK's assassination as well, and that seemed to have made the whole thing hit differently. He cut the scene, rewrote the film's ending, and the pie scene has lived on in infamy, having been aired once in 1999. Number 2. LaToya Jackson's scene in Bruno was cut when her brother died. Sacha Baron Cohen is not a man known for having much tact and subtlety on camera, but we have to remember that's mostly the characters he plays, not the man himself. Behind the scenes, he clearly has a different mindset, as witnessed by the scene he deleted from his 2009 movie Bruno. Bruno is another of Cohen's characters who, like Borat, blurs the line between reality and fantasy. In this case, Bruno is an Austrian fashion journalist who is very openly gay and inappropriate most of the time. There was to be a scene in the film featuring Bruno taking LaToya Jackson's phone and getting her brother Michael's phone number. On the day the movie was set to premiere, Michael Jackson died. In response to the death, the studio cut the scene very quickly and never restored it to subsequent releases, though it was available to watch as a special feature on the DVD release. Number 1. The reason Yukon Cornelius licks his pickaxe got cut in 1965. You've probably seen the 1964 stop-motion Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie because they seem to have aired it literally every year since 1964, multiple times on multiple channels. It's considered a holiday classic and features the story of the eponymous reindeer along with some friends, including a fellow named Yukon Cornelius. Since 1964, audiences have been perplexed by one aspect of the film relating to the prospect character of Cornelius. The man is constantly licking the end of his pickaxe, and in the context of the film, it makes no sense whatsoever. But that's only because we lost the scene that explains it. In 1965, there was apparently a write-in campaign from people who had watched the movie when it aired the previous year. They wanted more misfit toys. Jules Bass, one of the producers of the film, recalled that they tweaked the movie, and that meant the loss of something called the peppermint scene. It turns out in the original broadcast, Yukon Cornelius discovers a peppermint mine. After that, he keeps licking his pickaxe because there's peppermint on it. But with the loss of the scene, he just seems like a bit of a weirdo.